Good morning. It's Ginny and Tim at DS Tech in Escanaba, Michigan.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning. We're going to talk about passwords and a funny story.
Yeah.
And it's a document called All My Passwords Are Here. You can probably guess where this conversation is going, but if you can't, then stick around and hear about it, and then hear about how to prevent what can happen with something like
Yes.
that. Yeah, and then also stick around and I'll tell you how to get our free security assessment. So,
Yeah.
what are we talking about?
The main
How about
topic.
all my passwords are not here?
Same
thing?
I'd be curious to check it just to make sure, So yeah, the topic of this main episode is going to be password managers and how you should be storing your passwords because, let's face it, you can only remember so much as a person, and when you have 30 different accounts to log into for business, it's very common that people typically make like an Excel document or a notepad file or something, and they just start storing all their passwords in this document on their computer. Now, that's just a really bad thing to do for obvious reasons, but like think of an attacker got onto your computer and they managed to take just that one file. Now they have access to all your stuff. Even if you had 2FA in it, now they have the passwords if they're being reused elsewhere, and we'll go into some of the other things you can do. So bottom line is do not have any password file on your computer. Even if you think, ooh, I'm going to put a password lock on my Excel file so they can't even open my Excel document without a password. That password is very easily cracked using rudimentary, I hate to say a teenager could break into it, but they can. That's not a foolproof way to secure your password. It's kind of like a speed bump. It's not going to do anything to actually prevent it.
What about like a physical piece of paper?
Still, I recommend against that because a lot of people will use like an address book and then they write their emails and passwords and everything in. That maybe that's good for your home user or grandma or someone who has 10 accounts to remember, and it's just basic stuff. But if it's dealing with financials, anything that's personal, I still would go against writing anything down as well, just because unless it's like a personal account in your house and that thing is also being stored. The best thing to do is just get a password manager for both business and for home use, because the biggest thing with that is it can store all your accounts, all of your passwords, and they're stored in a way that's secure so that an attacker can't just break in and get all those passwords. So
and you only have to remember one.
Yes, and then you will have one good, hopefully a very long and thought out password that's completely unique from anything else, and it's also going to be secured with multi-factor authentication, to where you're not going to be able to log into that with just your email and password. You're going to hopefully have some sort of a biometric thumbprint on top of an MFA push, so that way, unless they were to get everything, including your phone and including your finger, they're not getting into your account. So the main story, again, I talked about this. People tend to store passwords in spreadsheets, sticky notes, email drafts. The advanced detection systems that we're using now will actually detect if you have a file on your computer that says passwords on it. So where if you're a customer of ours, you probably are used to getting some of these notifications now. It's just part of the ongoing improvements to security. And so with that, if that's something that we are finding, definitely we need correct the action, and whether it's our password manager or another one, definitely it's the step in the right direction to do is what I would say.
I would imagine, because when I search for documents, it'll search for words inside the document too.
Exactly.
I would imagine if you had PW or password inside the document.
Yeah, it'll even find a Word document that has the word password inside of it too. It's just a quick, alert, and we'll verify and things like that. We won't actually look at them for liability reasons, but we'll call the user, say, hey, do you have a password on your computer that has, or a file that says this in your computer? And they're like, yeah, I did. Well, okay, well, we got to correct that. Here's some solutions, and we'll kind of move forward. So that's kind of what this whole spawned this topic too, is we want to have some good information to be able to give to our clients or potential new clients on just the overall hygiene and health that you should be doing when it comes to your passwords and your security. So again, typically it's common that people store passwords in this stuff. If you're doing this, don't be like, oh no, they're going to find it. Like a lot of people unfortunately are doing it, but let's curb that habit. So again, with the password manager, I also kind of put in, a lot of people think like, oh, it's a whole nother solution. I have to open up a whole nother app just to get my passwords, and it's going to create this huge annoyance. The big thing is that, well, it's annoying to get yourself hacked for one. That's the worst annoyance you can get.
It's way more annoying.
But they make browser extensions. So your password manager, you have it installed, but you have an extension, so it'll go into your browser, whether you use Edge or Chrome or Firefox or whatever you have, and it's actually built into the browser. So when you're navigating your websites, kind of like how Google will just pre-fill, hey, do you want to put your password in? It does the exact same functionality, but now it's stored in a super secure vault, not in your browser. It's very common people store their passwords in their browser thinking that that's a secure method, but it's very easy to just, with a few commands and an admin credential, you can take all the stored passwords out of a browser. It's actually meant for if we're transferring, you can get that information. It's not that secure and it's not that hard to grab. So you definitely don't want to be storing this stuff in the browser, but if you have the password manager, which has an extension to allow it to go into the browser, now it's actually secure and it's going to function just like your browser does nowadays, only your passwords are being stored in a hardened vault, not just a shoebox. So basically, kind of we'll use a holiday analogy with passwords. Think of all your passwords like Christmas presents. You wouldn't just pile all of your gifts in the front yard with a sign that says free for anyone. That's basically what people are doing when they keep passwords in a file called all my passwords or passwords are here or don't look at my passwords, whatever you call the file. If it's got passwords in it, it's being looked at.
Or untitled and inside it says password.
Yeah, exactly. So smart gift givers hide their presents. They wrap them, label them carefully, and then keep them under the tree until it's time to open them. That's what a password manager does. It wraps every password in layers of protection, keeping them organized, and only lets the right person unwrap them when needed at the specified time. And again, if you're still keeping lists of passwords in plain text somewhere, it's like leaving your stocking hanging outside with your wallet inside of it. It might still be there in the morning, but do you really want to take the chance? So it's just kind of going in that. Use a password manager. Again, we have a solution we call Keeper. It will work with your business. And then the cool part about that is when you get Keeper for business, it will actually come with a home portal too. So you can actually not only use all your business passwords and keep them secure. If you had some personal accounts that you didn't want to tie into business, you have a separate kind of portal within the portal, a separate section for your home passwords to be stored. And then you can use that. I think
I do.
Use that.
I signed up with my personal email, using the link that you guys gave me from our Keeper account. So and it's free. So
well,
why not?
I think it's like $5 a user.
No, I mean the home.
The
home version.
Is free.
Is free.
Yeah.
Yes, it's $5 a user for our customers.
So if you have 20 employees, you know, $100 a month, but then that's $100 that their passwords are not going to be stolen as long as they're still not writing them down, things like that. It's the most secure thing you can do. So the biggest thing that it will help you with.
Have the home version too. So
exactly, you're actually giving them a free bonus then, a net benefit for their home use. Because the biggest thing with passwords is very common. As humans, we like to reuse passwords, keep phrases that we know in our head that we can remember, and sometimes we'll add a 1 or a 0 or a slight variation of it, but usually it's not a completely unique password for every account. There's just too many accounts to do that with. I mean, I know I didn't do that before I had a password manager. Now the cool thing with the password manager is when you create an account or log in somewhere, you can click generate me a password, and it creates this string of passwords of like obscure letters and numbers and things that you would never remember as a person. But now you can actually store that in your password manager and you're good to go. And it's much harder for an attacker to break a password that is complete garbage. It looks like gibberish, it's like a slash, a period, a capital T, a star, it's a string of random stuff. And that's going to be way more secure. And you can store them safely in a password manager without worrying. Because then you can use that. And I had the fear when I first started using Password Manager too, and I get other people may have this, is like, what if I can't get into my Password Manager? Now I can't get into anything. And you're all worried about that, but there's ways to reset it, and then you get into your Password Manager, and that will be locked down, secure, but at the same time, it's an attacker can't get into anything either then at the same time. So, and we would definitely help you if for some reason you got locked out. We can easily reset that as your MSP. It's pretty easy to be able to reset that and go through the method of authentication you set up to verify it's who you are, and then you can reset your password like any other portal where you forget your password. You may have to answer a security question, do this, and do your MFA prompt. So there's ways to reset it to get yourself back in if you truly were locked out. And so when I first started using the password manager, I kicked myself in the butt. I was like, why didn't I do this like 2 years ago? We had one available, but it wasn't mandatory for a while, and other people were using it. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I'll do it, because the idea of having to put all my passwords in here, it seemed very daunting.
It did.
And it's like, oh, I got to put all my passwords in, and I'll do all this stuff. And I totally understand that. It's normally, but do that, and the amount of time you're going to save within the next month of not having to find passwords, I was just like, wow, I can't believe I waited this long to do this. It was such a huge
and I have them right on my phone too, so because I installed them on my phone too.
And so don't let that stop you. If you're like, I got like 50 accounts, this is going to be too much work just to get this thing set up. It's not. Take the time to do it, and you will then be secure, and you'll save that amount of time and then some going into the future at the speed at which you're logging into your portals now.
Think how much you save by not getting hacked, because passwords
that's the ultimate goal. yeah, if you don't get hacked, you save even more. I'm just thinking, assuming you were not to get hacked with and without, it's still going to be a net benefit of you once you finally get it up and rolling. So again, we use a password manager called Keeper, but there are other solid options out there too. I don't want to just say you got to go with just our solution. If you wanted to do your own research, a couple others that I do recommend you can look at. There's one called 1Password, because there's a guy in the industry called Troy Hunt who does all this security stuff, and it's kind of his solution. So it does really good. I would recommend that. The other one it's called Bitwarden. It's an open source, transparent, reliable, but they have business plans as well to go along with that as well. So feel free to, Keeper, 1Password, Bitwarden are 3 that I personally recommend. Again, there's tons of password managers out there, but avoid the ones that are like, just free, or sometimes it's still better than nothing with it's free, but usually the security isn't there as much. Go with some sort of a paid password manager is my advice, because that's going to have the extra layers of security in it. It's going to be a paid feature. Don't just store your passwords and all your important information in some sort of free solution. At least go with some sort of a paid thing is what I would recommend. Maybe for your personal on the side, for grandma or whoever, if they can get a free one, that'd be better than nothing still. But for business, always go with something that's legitimate. So here's a couple other analogies at the end. It says, your passwords are the keys to your digital barn. You wouldn't just hang all your keys on a nail on the outside of the door, would you? So don't just leave them around in unprotected files. Put them in a safe. Again, password managers are that safe. So again, if you have any sort of password files, whether it's a notepad, whether it's an Excel file or anything, or other employees in your business that are doing this, I highly encourage you to reach out, look into a password manager. We can get you a quote based on your business size and get you rolling, set up, and all that stuff. So that daunting task of feeling like, oh, I got to get all my passwords put into this thing now. Let us help you with that part, so then you can just keep running your business. So.
Yeah, excellent. Good news.
That's about all I had. I don't know if there's any other things you want to add.
I'm just thinking, wrap it up. So. So yeah, if you need that password keeper, reach out to us. It's $5 a user, and then bonus, your employees get a home version too that they can use on their computers and phones. Pain in the butt, but it keeps you safe, and it actually ends up easier in the long run because all your passwords are in one safe place, and you can remember your one password. Yes. So if you need help with that, reach out. And if you want our free security assessment, go to dstech.net and then sign up for it. We'll see you next time.